Hello and welcome everyone to the Lifelong Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Molly from Three Pines Leadership, and my desk is a mess right now, so excuse me while I look around and get myself settled in. Well, yes, I am Coach Molly from Three Pines Leadership. This is the Lifelong Podcast, and you're tuned in yet again. Wonderful. Yay! So today we're going to talk a little bit about the big project that I just finished, the Mindset and Impact Virtual Summit. So I hosted a 3 days. It was an online conference, a summit, where we had speakers who came from all over the world. I pre-recorded the interviews. We released them all, where you had 24 hours access to the videos. It was awesome. It was so much fun. And then as a bonus, for those who wished to financially contribute to the project, we offered not only all of the videos with no time limit, lifelong access, but also you could get interviews with all of the speakers. So those are extra bonuses available to those who purchase the all access pass. And it was really, really fun. I know for the speakers, it was really fun. It was really fun to interview everyone. It was a ton of fun to do my own courses and my own teaching for the summit. I absolutely loved it. So let's actually start today's episode the way that we usually do. Let's talk about connecting with me on social. Oh yeah, that's right. So connect with me on all of my different social platforms. I'd love to be in touch with you guys. I love to hear what you're doing, what you're grateful for, what you're working on, all of that kind of stuff. So definitely get in touch with me when it comes to all of that stuff. Okay, so let's do what we usually do. Let's start today's episode with a little bit of gratitude. So of course I want to show some gratitude to all of the speakers who came out to the lifelong, to the Mindset and Impact Virtual Summit. It was awesome. Like, I learned so much from the speakers. It was a game-changing experience, I have to say. And for those of you who joined, I am so grateful for those of you who attended. It was quite the show of people who came out. So that was really fantastic. So thank you to everyone for being part of that. So let's actually get into reflecting on what I learned through the process. So the biggest challenge that I had was that I started out with a team of people behind me. And as this project changed, who was involved changed as well. And there slowly, as we were working on the project, more and more people had other commitments, had other things pop up. Life came in the way for a lot of people. So slowly, everyone on the team ended up, for all different reasons, life comes in the way, as I said, everyone dropped out. And it was just me. And that was interesting. That was not what I was expecting, that's for sure. So, but I am grateful I am so thankful for the opportunity I had to try everything. Yes, I had to neglect certain areas. I had to take certain parts of the project off of the task list and just kind of put those to the side altogether while I focused my attention on what was important. So it was a neat experience, not only to try and do all of the different roles that were required on the summit, but it was also an interesting experience to prioritize. And that's never been something I've been good at. I'm always someone who would rather jump in and just go for it and go for it 120% until it's done, until my grand idea is done. But this summit definitely was a lesson in prioritizing what was important, because I could only focus on a certain amount of stuff at a time. And I made a promise to myself at the beginning of the summit that I wouldn't rely on my virtual assistants, and I was going to do this all on my own and so that was also difficult, because once the team members dropped off, it was a challenge to not ask for help from those people. So sticking to your values, I guess, is the moral of that story. So let's talk about some more stuff about the summit. So building it. I loved building the summit. All of the pages, all of the flow through, all of the code, all of the tiebacks to follow-up funnels, all of that. Absolutely love. The one thing I'm going to be doing for the next launch of the summit is an affiliate area. So people can be affiliates and start selling that. So that's definitely an addition that I'm going to work on, because what I did this time was I had two different membership areas running, so I had to do them as two separate funnels. So on one side, I had the full summit with the all access passes, the membership area, but then in another funnel, I had a speakers green room running as a membership area, so that speakers had access to all of the social graphics, etc. But that was difficult to manage, like two separate areas. So what I'm going to do next time is take out the speakers green room and just run an affiliate area under, like, in the same funnel. So it would be underneath my membership area, if you want to see the walkthrough of that. So building it was really fun. Tons and tons of opportunities for creative lists and creative follow-up sequences based on that stuff. So that was really fun to go through and to sort out. And to be honest, I sorted most of that out live as the summit was going. I had issues with the SMTP server, so I had issues with the autoresponders sending out the broadcast emails, but I figured it out. I was just at my limit because I was being so creative. Great thing that I learned, definitely send out reminder emails. There was definitely an uptick in people who joined the attended list because they saw the reminder email. So I would even do like 2 reminder emails. There was a drop off like 3 times as many people came to day 1 than came to day 2. I did no reminder emails on day 2, but I did 3 reminders day 1, 0 day 2, and 1 for day 1. And the attendance was kind of relative to that. What else did I learn? I think that's about it for important stuff in the building area of the funnel. I'm sure I'll think. Actually, let me just pull it up here and tell you what I find. If my it doesn't want to go. Okay. Anyways, networking with guests would be my second area I could focus on here as we talk about things that I learned from this summit. So the definitely Dream 100 needs to be put in place if you're going to be thinking about doing summits at all. Dream 100 is the way that it goes. You definitely you need to know who you're looking for and why. You also need to keep in mind both paid and earned connections as well, because you definitely are going to get free advertising from the people who are at the summit, because they're going to send it out to their lists, obviously. Well, not obviously, actually. That's another thing. So you're going to get that connection. So you have to work each of those connections. So yeah, it's going to be work to get the speaker to come and speak for you, but you also need to figure out what you can do for them. So network back and connect back and do an interview on their podcast, for example, and continue to provide value for both of your audiences. And that way you become, in some respects, a returning character in other people's narratives. And then those people who are interested in you will then come into your world that way. So that was interesting, something I worked on there. I also gave myself this really hard rule of not chasing people. I don't like the idea of having to chase my guests. If they want to be part of the summit and they want to be part of the opportunity, then awesome. And there were so many of those speakers, so I didn't need to keep chasing people. I gave people friendly reminders, but I recognized that life gets in the way. One of the speakers I asked, she couldn't join us because she was dealing with a giant legal case that she's writing and had a deadline for. So I was like, of course. Another speaker I was dealing with or working with couldn't continue on because he had to move because of the situation that's happening right now in the world. So recognizing that flexibility and recognizing that some people are not ready for this opportunity, and that's totally okay. And some people want to see how it looks on the other side. They want to see, a run through of it first to kind of get an idea. People think differently, and some people need to work from a model, while other people just come at it really uniquely and really authentically. And that's a difference. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying that's something I observed for sure. So I didn't chase after people, and because of that, I ended up getting the people who really wanted to be part of this opportunity that were, in some cases, less work. There was some that ended up becoming more work. And that wasn't bad. It's a sign of someone who was really, really, or it wasn't one person, it was a couple people, but people who were really excited and interested in the opportunity. So there's that. So definitely bringing out your Dream 100 list and working on it both in respects of who you want on your summit and then who you want to connect with in terms of distributing the idea and getting people to come on board with what you're doing. So those are two different lists you definitely should be working on. So it's like your Dream 200 in some respects. And then you want to Dream 100 of who you want to come and be in attendance at your summit as well. And that can be a little bit trickier because that's where I would start targeting individual people and then build my advertising lists off of that. So that's what I have to say about networking. Interviewing, you're actually going to be interviewing people when you're putting together a summit. So what I did was it took me a month to record everything, and I wore the exact same shirt. I tried to do my hair the same way. I did my makeup the same way. And I tried to look exactly the same so that when everything was pieced together, it did give more of a feel of a single event or a live event. So that was something. Who knows? I think next time what I'm going to do, there may or may not be Changemaker shirts coming down the line for those of you interested. So next time I may or may not use that kind of a shirt so that it's tying into other products or services. All right. Also with interviewing, so I had two different mentalities and I tried them out in almost every interview. So I wanted to make sure that I was engaging directly with the content that was being brought to the presentation. So engaging directly with what the presenter was talking about in their presentation, right? Because they did the presentation and then they did the interviews. So I tried to do engaging specifically with their content, and then I also started doing asking the most random questions that I'm like genuinely curious about when it comes to talking to people. The people I brought onto the summit are people I'm genuinely interested in hanging out with and talking to and whatnot. So I wanted to share that kind of the kind of weird questions that I ask randomly. So like asking people out of the blue, like, what does empowerment mean to you? And what does the future look like? Because I'm genuinely interested. So it was really neat to see the response difference depending on what kinds of questions I was asking. And some people were a lot easier to get into that kind of a dialogue with, where I just wanted to forget all the questions that I had thought up, where other people were definitely kind of like trained in the school of interview, where it's here's a complete cohesive thought in a package and next as their answer. So it was interesting to see both of those. So I definitely learned to adjust my interviewing technique while I was doing that. And what would I do differently? Ooh. There's so much I would do differently, but that is just because I would probably have more I would give myself more time with a team. I don't know necessarily if I do a live event, like fully advertised as a live event. There's some adjusting to follow up funnel and email sequence that I would definitely work on because that was an area that I completely neglected because of the time constraints. I would be a lot firmer on when the final date for speakers to be interviewed would be. I had to push it back for a couple sessions, and it just became it became an extra mess. So I definitely do that. I'd follow up with my speakers a little bit more regularly. Because there were some people who were interviewing with me live and some people who were sending me videos that I would then edit afterwards. So I would just be a bit firmer on those deadlines because I needed the time to do all the editing to get everything else done behind the scenes. So I see that as a marker of respect for myself to make sure that I'm giving myself the appropriate amount of time to get the project done so that I feel good about the results. I set the deadline in place for a reason, so I should stick with it. And then I can help my speakers stick to that deadline by following up and reminding them on a little bit more regular basis than what I did. So there's that. I would definitely work on the affiliate area rather than the speaker's green room because managing two different membership areas was a little bit tedious when I could easily put them in an affiliate area. And then I also get the bonus of being able to monetize for my affiliates. So that's great. Yay, affiliates. And then once I figure that out for one, I can you guys can all jump on whatever kind of, I'll just add affiliates to everything. And then you can help me in that way. All right. So what are the plans for upcoming summits? Because I am 100% in love with this idea. So I've thrown around some ideas that I'm going to keep top secret for now. Just for now, I promise. But there are some that I can share with you because I need the accountability. Let's just say that. This whole summit was based on sharing it with a couple people and saying, this is what I'm going to do. I pushed the date back once when one team member was unable to help out. And then I launched the summit. Connie Benjamin, who spoke at the summit, she said, when she was talking about writing her book, she gave herself 15 minutes a day. She's a busy mom. You can hear all about it at the summit. But she was talking about giving herself a deadline and giving herself permission to be the author, right? To feel like she's an author, to stop thinking about, oh, I can't do it because, I'm not an author. I'm just a busy mom. And she was like, no. Once you start telling people that you're the author of the upcoming book, then you kind of have to stick to that. So you have to keep working towards that. And I thought that was really, really interesting. So that worked for me. Definitely. That's why I reached out to have a team in the first place, was to make sure that there are other people in which I need to be accountable for. So that was cool. So I'll definitely work on making sure I have a stronger team. Like, imagine what I could do if I had a team of a couple other people that I could bring on to help them with this kind of stuff. That would be cool. I'd also love to run a program that helps people with their presentation skills and helps business owners and entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, et cetera, develop the skills that they need to present and sell with a story selling mentality, as opposed to thinking that they're having to sell a product. So I'm interested in doing that. So keep your eye out for that. So plans for upcoming summits. I definitely want to do one around experiential education because I just finished my program at University of Calgary in adult education and community education. And I love those ideas. The ideas that we can learn from each other. That was the crazy high school that I went to. It was all based in the idea of community education, where it doesn't matter if you have a teaching credential or not. You probably still have information that you can share, and we can learn from each other in that way. So I definitely want to work on something like that would have things like themes around self-directed learning, around project-based learning, community learning, alternative education models, but focused around self-directed learning for adults, because that's where the business world is going. I'm sorry. It's not as much about locking yourself into a multi-year degree at an institution that is probably going to be teaching you something that's a little bit out of date, as opposed to jumping in and going project by project or idea or skill by skill. So I'm interested in that. And going off of that, actually, just because we're here and we're chatting, the Toronto District School Board has released some news around what their hybrid model of education is going to look like in the fall. So it's going to be primarily online, and I was really interested by, honestly, it was just a couple sentences I came across, but I'm really interested in the idea of online project-based, or what they called Quadmasters. So it'd be 4 Quadmasters per year, where you're doing 2 courses at a time for a condensed, I think, 14 weeks or 7 weeks or something like that. That's the way that I've always wanted education to go for. That's the way that correspondence education went when I was in high school. And that's how I excelled through things so quickly, is because I was able to entirely focus on 1 or 2 projects, 1 or 2 subjects at a time. I wasn't trying to balance 8 different subjects at the same time. And the key to that style of education is when you are able to tie the different projects together and the different subjects together over the course of a year, so that you can have incremental learning. But it's really, really fantastic way to get really in-depth, intense learning in 1 or 2 different areas. So I'm fingers crossed. I'm really hopeful that becomes an ongoing model that we're seeing in secondary school education. Total tangent there, but thank you for joining me on that one. And then the other summit that I'm definitely working on, I don't have any dates or anything like that, but I'm definitely working on a summit around alternative dispute resolution, conflict coaching, that kind of stuff. The idea that we can embrace conflict in our life and use it as a building block for something new. I love change. I love when we shake things up. I love when we embrace technologies, and I love when we embrace opportunities to collaborate and to learn from each other and to build something that's better. So I want to work on that. I'm a qualified mediator. I want to bring in some other dispute resolution people. We want to talk about restorative justice, conflict modes, mediation, collaboration, confidence, restorative justice, difficult conversations, mitigating conflict, managing conflict at home, managing conflict at work. So many different options, but we're going to focus on that kind of stuff because that's something I'm super passionate about. So I hope you'll enjoy that as well with me. So that's going to be it for this episode, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a blast. Make sure you connect with me on all of my social platforms. I'm on Twitch. We stream most of our live shows over there at 3 Pines. I'm on Periscope as well at Coach Molly. I'm on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. We do our lives on Facebook and on YouTube as well. I'm on Twitter, but I don't really know how this thing works. So hit me up and let me know. All right, everyone. Thank you again for joining me. It's been a blast. This has been Coach Molly for 3 Pines Leadership and the Lifelong Podcast. Peace out. Bye for now, everyone. Until next time, remember, I love you and be excellent to each other.